It's time for the drama. So, overall, just so that you are all aware, Season 1 of Dragonflight had a number of new Dragonflight dungeons that were really a step up in complexity. It had a lot of mechanics, a lot of decently punishing mechanics, also affixes that were quite annoying, and Blizzard tuned up the scaling to be harder, and they stretched the item level brackets from capping out at Mythic Plus 15 to capping out at Mythic Plus 20. All of these resulted in, I suppose you could say, for the sake of gearing your character, a more challenging Mythic Plus experience. And I think most notably, we had more mechanically dense dungeons and also annoying affixes. Those things both happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Including things where it just didn't feel designed at all, such as quaking with the worm boss from Burial Grounds before they hotfix that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the point of affixes. They're designed and then applied across everything as opposed to individually designed. But I think the broader experience have pushed people up to 20. I think people were... I'm not sure... I think people were largely kind of happier with that because there was more progression to do and it took longer. I've seen a decent amount of... especially compared to the amount of stuff lost in general with Dragonflight, like players. I've seen a pretty decent amount of Dragonflight Season 1 M Plus was pretty good, but affixes are annoying and a problem, so can we talk about those or can we think about those? Can we look at those going forward? I think all the other changes are largely sound as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, so what's happened then? Well, Vortex Pinnacle is open at M Plus for testing this week. Quaking, Grievous, and Volcanic are dead. Fewer explosive orbs will spawn, but they'll have substantially higher health. Here's an example of two of them spawning with just shy of 700,000 health. These have been reduced by 30%. But the point here is these used to be a thing where like your healer would throw an instant cast on them and they'd just go away.
Mouse over macro, like a Shadowward Pain or something. And gone.
Yeah. Whereas now,
or Moonfire, yeah.
People have got to shift to them. But of course...
Yeah.
They are explosives. So, how will their spawning be? It'll be kind of annoying if you're a melee and you feel decently taxed in movement or, whatever. And then the explosive just spawns in an annoying position.
Yeah. So for context, that 700k was on a plus 20. So that's the peak of difficulty as far as Blizzard expect anyone except for the really hardcore pushers to get to. But it's still it's ridiculous, especially because you pull some more mobs, a more explosive spawn. This isn't you see two in that picture. This wasn't there's one or two. It's you want to pull 2-3 packs, your entire thing's full of explosives. And that's okay, well now you have to go DPS them. And then the problem is, do these explosives damage the boss? No, because that would be a positive thing and you could use them to your advantage, which Blizzard stated they do not want to have happen because that's not it. Unless
they don't understand that doing that is risk reward. 2 super chats from Dark Soul 9669 they flavor things before we jump into the new affixes. There are a bit of improvement to these affixes, but they're so unbelievably boring it feels worse to me even if they are improved by release. And demoralizing that this is what they came up with. Also, not liking more priority target affixes that take up your resources that you already want to use on packs. And I think that is, those are actually a pretty good encapsulation of, I think, why it is additional difficulty, yes, but it's additional difficulty that's annoying, which is the bit that doesn't really work. That doesn't work as well. So to get to the new affixes then, we have Afflicted. While in combat, afflicted souls appear that seek the aid of players. They spawn with a poison, curse, and disease. If you remove any of those, or just restore it to full health, it'll despawn. If you don't... you'll get a negative status effect, which I think is it was a large haste.
In data mining, it was a minus 100% haste debuff.
May not be that in live.
It might not go that bad heavily, but it's the point was you deal with this or you get a massive damage nerf. As opposed to damage coming in, because damage coming in is if damage comes in, you can just say, it's fine, whatever. We can just heal it through, we can do whatever else. But I think because that's an interesting one, Afflicted, because you can see the point of it there is, it's poison, curse, disease. You get rid of any one of those, which means you go, Ret Paladin. Do you want to go and put a little bit of a talent point into cleanse there for us, please? And you're like, no, I don't. Go fuck yourself. Ah, shit. Okay. Shaman, do you want to take poison cleansing totem? And then you can press the button every time it happens and you're fine. Yeah. Oh, look, shamans are highly valued this week. Like, that's fine, but also not fine, depending on who you ask. Whereas, like, this is a case of, you can see where the interesting game design part of this comes through. And you could see how maybe this works for, like, this would work for maybe raid design. But for smaller groups, it's a little bit more, okay. So then if you have, if you just don't have someone and it's a healer's job to do overall, it's very frustrating.
Then is Entangling. So initially it was quite awkward because like initially this came out and it was like a druid's Entangling roots that was like the Twitter image that WoW had used. Yeah. And immediately people thought, oh my god, are we going to be rooted? No, it's a snare. And it's just the vine pulling mini game, right? So you know, a vine will grab onto you, and if you move 10 yards away from that vine, you'll snap the vine. But while you are, you know, within the vine's radius and you haven't snapped it yet, you have a 50% movement speed debuff. And if you don't snap it within 8 seconds, and of course, remember, maybe you're just really pressured, you have to hard cast some heals or something to keep people up, could get a bit sweaty. If you don't do that, you're stunned for 3 seconds. 3 seconds of stun. That feels like forever. And I guess maybe if somebody does get stunned, you could perhaps clear that. But still, that's also
I don't know because I didn't have time to try. I'm not sure if it's a dispellable stun. Probably not. Yeah. Because we wouldn't let that happen. So it's like, oh yeah, you wanna rock a human, get that will to survive out, sort it, easy, no problem. Get that reduction. It's like, no, you kind of have to just move.
Then there's Incorporeal. Now, this one, initially I saw, I'm like, well, this is kind of... Okay, so the way it works, when you're in combat, beings appear, and they try to destabilize you with spells that reduce your damage and healing done. But the spells that they cast, right? 8-second cast time. Now, that either means you interrupt 2 of them at the end of the cast, and then the mob despawns mid-cast the next time, or you interrupt 3 of them, if you just, like, interrupt them instantly or something. So that's definitely one where you could get a bit of a noob trap, because some people, they're very skittish when they're playing a game. They're like, an interrupt, I gotta do it now, blah! And then they'll interrupt it, like, and then the mob will be like, well, okay, I'll just cast it again. So it could be a bit of a noob trap. But here's a tweet from Tattles. Now, this is initial testing, but this is a 3 mob pack spawning 3 incorporeal beings. Now, imagine, so this is just saying, hello, you need, now these can be, as an example, you can paralyze one of these. And one of the nice things about them is they are not impacted by AoE. So AoE will not break the CC. But it does mean you paralyze one, and then you use, best case scenario, 4 interrupts in the other 2. In this 3 mob pack.
Yep.
Now, you can obviously think of packs where if you already needed quite a few, like maybe, some interrupts, you throw these in, and now you're really in a bit of a troublesome spot, especially if it is a higher key. And, while it is harder, it may not feel more fun. And having hard and fun are not mutually exclusive. You can have hard and fun. You can have hard and not fun. If you've designed hard but not fun, you've kind of failed as a designer.
Yeah, that's the part.
That's the thing I wish they understood, because the way that they keep on saying, it's about a series of interesting problems. That's the Sid Meier quote. He was designing Civilization, which is a very different game to World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's not always that. I feel like sometimes designers can be a little reductive with a few maxims, and also can prioritize their design goals over the player fantasy that they're supposed to be serving. And it's one of those things, I actually think that the more that we have game designer as a job title, as like a specific, speciality, it's like we're finding a way to invent a problem that a player can overcome in an interesting way. Does that lead to over-bloated designs? Does it lead to too much design? As an example, you look at Oh, isn't it Bauhaus is the Dieter Rams, Braun designer, did a lot of the minimalism, in like the early, like think 50s, 60s, 70s, some of the 80s.
I play video games. I have no idea what you're talking
about. Apple pretty much like took a very
Yoink.
massive amount of inspiration. Like Johnny Ive would, you could sort of see him.
Yes, Johnny Ives.
Within that,
Who,
yeah,
I don't know if you've ever
Big
used
L's.
this mouse.
But it's things like the
charging port. Can't use it. Yeah.
It's things like the classic Braun clock. Just a lot of the designs that Dieter Rams came up with, and it's that idea of like that the best amount of design is like, and sometimes it's the least amount of design possible to get the maximum result that you want. Because if you put too much design in, you've designed too many things. Now it's cluttered.
Over
right?
design.
It's over design. You want to be decently minimalist. One of the things, and it's the one thing that the FromSoft games have been really good at, because they're hard and fun, not because they're over designed.
Some people might disagree with you on some points, but generally speaking, yes.
Like, they're not over designed.
Yeah, there's
that's like the
they're
point.
they're almost too undesigned in the way that you feel, because it's not like, oh, you need to have 7 button presses to dodge this. It's enemy swings.
Yeah,
and the point is it's the enemy attack pattern that matters, as opposed to anything else.
Street Fighter, or maybe some of the anime fighters that are really crazy, those are harder games, like mechanically harder. StarCraft 2, harder game. Valorant, harder game. In like that very literal sense of, can a normal person pick this up and do something? But the thing is, in those games, it's fair, it's predictable, and the difficulty comes from the simple rule set being punishing. Now, when you move over here into the World of Warcraft scenario, where your screen is all nameplates, because Blizzard seemingly think that everyone who plays the game has a good plater profile installed by default, especially in Mythic Plus. What happens is you start to lose all of the design clarity. You just lose all, it just goes away and away and away and away, to the point where your design is now difficult, muddled, and stressful. And that means that it's hard, but it's not fun.
Yeah, there's a massive reason why so many people like to raid over M+. And it's because raiding is generally simpler. Not extremely simple, but it is usually you deal with a few things at a time. Whereas M+ is like, oh, you deal with a few things at a time from the dungeon design, which was designed, and that was like, okay, design a dungeon, done. And then they go, affixes, here's more shit to deal with. It's like, well, why did people like hitting one mob, hitting a boss? Because they hit the boss. And then they say, oh, there's ads. Okay, there's ads. Usually you don't have to think about individual ads, unless it's something like Kurog, where, oh, look, there's 2 ads. And they're very big. So which one do we focus? Oh, this one. Okay, sweet. Let's go for it. Okay, interrupt that one. Yeah, grand. Sweet. That's pretty simple. And that's exactly what you're saying. Was like that's the simplicity of it. And there's a reason why that's like the ancient the ancient backbone of the game. And the dungeon design is actually fine. It's like, I like the difference between Court of Stars with a shit ton of affixes. Like, I don't think I really like Court of Stars, but I don't think I ever had fun the whole way through it this season, just because it was always quaking or there's always thundering, and you're like, this was so good. Maybe it was a little bit easy, but it was so good without it.
Here's
like fighting Telexei or Anakutcher or anything. It was just fine.
Here's the thing. What do you call it? Is it Ultimate Ninja Warrior? Is that the American TV show where the athletic people...
Just Ninja Warrior?
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, funny guy who used to live beside us, in my family, that was on that. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he said my dad built a big training course for him. Stuff. Yeah.
Your dad built a Ninja Warrior training course.
A very small one, but yeah.
In Cookstown.
In our shed, yeah.
That's...
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, go to Matt's family house and get strong together. That's sick.
Yeah.
But imagine, right, Ninja Warrior, where it's like, this is a rote challenge. That's the course you've got to overcome. Now, the next one is, it's Ninja Warrior, but someone's put an electrical love ants egg up your butt.
Jesus.
And while you're doing Ninja Warrior, you're electrocuted randomly.
Or actually, no, I've got it. I actually have it, and this is going to be. Oh no, none of you are going to get this. Imagine it's Ninja Warrior and Total Wipeout at the same time.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So I don't know if Total Wipeout's an American thing. I know it's a UK thing as well, but Total Wipeout.
IRL Thunder and Cap.
Yeah, exactly. So the way they have all of their things designed is it's not that you have a course to go through. It's you're going to telediltonics. Jesus, perfect. Yeah, so you're going through a course, and there's things like there's boxing gloves will spring out to hit you from the thing you're trying to climb across, and that'll like knock you into the water or whatever else. And it's supposed to be a more slapstick version of Ninja Warrior, which is hardcore challenge. Yeah, and that's the thing where it's the difference between those two.
Yeah.
Whereas Mythic Plus is feeling a little bit more Total Wipeout, where you're just getting like drop kicked off the edge for no reason whatsoever, or because you didn't notice this thing was going to hit you with water, or this thing like was spinning around and changed its velocity. Whereas you're trying to do a hard enough course as it is.
Yeah, so it's like imagine, it's Ninja Warrior, but okay, Ninja Warrior, but like, your version of Tyrannical Week is that you have to wear a small weighted vest. Like that would feel more reasonable. But Ninja Warrior, but actually this week's affixes are Wind Tunnel and Slippery.
Oh my god, why did I not say Takeshi's Castle instead?
Or Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I mean. Talking about how you've got the idea of something that's like, Ninja Warrior, you can sort of see the challenge to overcome, and people are like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome. But then if you throw a bunch of random bullshit in it.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know if Ninja Warrior does throw random bullshit in.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it does.
No, the point is that it's just an absolutely grueling calisthenics course.
Yeah.
Where if you... I love it. I really like watching it.
I will bring it back to World of Warcraft.
Unfortunate.
Where we will be able to have other examples. Their affix refresh goals. One of our primary goals is to highlight different forms of player utility week over week.
Done. Yeah, well done. Fantastic.
True. They've done that. Is it good, though? Is that fun? They want to reduce the cognitive load they're putting on players with affixes, and the removal of the seasonal affix and pacing and design of the new affixes. They want to slow down the trigger rate and tone down the required response.
All right, everyone swap DPS to the 40 billion health explosive that spawn. One per mob that you have pulled. Sweet, no worries. Also, make sure all your CC buttons aren't allowed to be used for mobs because you'll need to use them for all your Incorporeals.
And they want to refresh and review affixes between seasons instead of doing a seasonal affix.
I know how you could reduce the cognitive load you're putting on players with affixes. You may not want to hear it. Just get rid of them. Just turn them off.
No, install Plater.
Oh yeah, install Plater.
Because the way we solve things in World of Warcraft is to just add more.
Oh yeah,
add more and more and more.
Yeah, you install the mouse over. Macro that lets you target explosives. Oh wait, that's right. They turned that off. They're not allowed to target by name for explosives because people just trivialized it. But now you have to actually mouse over it. You're like, okay. But people do the same for the afflicted, and it's like, oh yeah, well, okay. There's a button on your screen that you can click, and you click that button and then press your macro, and you'll be able to get rid of the afflicted thing. Sweet.
So let's see what members of the community, think. And we do this because we want to look at players who aren't us. All right. Not too sure. Sort of feels like I'm playing affixes, not dungeons at this point. THD from Limit. I'm surprised they made affixes worse. I'm impressed.
Yep.
Wasn't the point of the affix revamp to make them better?
Jesus.
Here's another Limit player. These are the worst thing I've ever seen. Here's Flex. Meme chief of Limit or meme chief of Echo? Meme chief of Echo. Yeah, Echo, of course. Flex, more Mythic Plus gets touched, the worse it is. The dough is overworked at this stage. That's it. They've overdeveloped the gluten strands, and now everyone's fucking got the Mythic Plus shit. Fantastic. I think the player base definitely is very inflamed and leaky.
I thought my analogies were bad, jeez.
In 2 expansions from now, every pack will have 2 mini bosses with 8 abilities each and more annoying affixes. People had hope. Lafmao.
Yeah.
No. Lumfao.
No, that sounds a bit gross.
Bring back the seasonal affix. Get rid of all other ones. For the love of God, this shit looks so fucking bad. Yup, I agree with you, Trell. 25 minutes into Freehold. Guys, do we stack and move on the last boss in Freehold to save space? Entangling spawns out of nowhere? Fuck. Here's another example of that. You know the blowy dragon from Vortex Pinnacle? where you always want to be...
you face the
You
get the
want to
wind
be
hit.
upwind of the dragon.
Yes, no, yeah.
Now, imagine this. The wind flips.
And you tangled?
The wind flips. So your job now, while the wind is blowing against you, is to move to the right side of where the dragon is. Mm-hmm. And imagine you then get entangled. So not only are you running against the wind, but you also have the entangling vine. Now, the thing there is, if you run forward, maybe you're not going to break the vine fast enough. But you can run back very quick, snap the vine, and then keep on going. But the thing is, that now just feels annoying.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's annoying.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
You can solve that very easily, but it's annoying. None of these are hard in isolation. That's the thing. They're just like, but I want to play the game. Why are you not letting me play the game? Why are you making me play a different game? I actually had a very good conversation with Connor about this. And we came up with a very good analogy, which is you're playing a video game, right? Playing a video game. And it's essentially a very big, complicated Simon Says. It's like, Simon says, hit that mob. Simon says, dodge this mechanic, etc. What the affixes end up feeling like is you're playing your Simon Says, but then there's a second Simon. And this second Simon comes in and just starts saying a little crazy shit. Where you're like, okay, Simon says jump, and then you jump, and then you're midair. Sweet, no problem. But then the second Simon says do a flip. You're like, I've already jumped. How am I supposed to do a flip now? You try and then fall and break your neck. And that's it. It's two different layers interacting with each other in ways that aren't actually going to, always make sense and can sometimes be really very annoying. That's exactly, Fairland Simon says move while not moving. That's exactly what it is. And here's an example, right? So one of the things and I can't exactly remember which bosses, but I remember just because said Simon Says, I remember the literal Simon Says mechanics from the FF14 bosses, which is, what's it called? The fire thing where if you move or do an action, you take damage.
Oh, yeah.
There's that, right? They can never add this to World of Warcraft as long as these affixes to a Mythic Plus boss, as long as these affixes are here. Because you can't have a boss that says, if you move, you die. Because then the other Simon might say, if you don't move, you die. Or like, dead out of the way. Fantastic. Excellent. And that's like the fundamental issue here.
Yeah.
Where it's just, people want to play the dungeon. Pyretic, that's what it's called. Why are you not allowed to play the dungeon? I want to play the dungeon. Let me play the dungeon. Why do I have to play this fucking mini game on top of the dungeon?
And the thing that Blizzard don't get is that normal heroic don't exist, basically. They may as well not. Mythic 0 does exist, and it's actually... Do you ever wonder why people really enjoy Mythic 0 in, launch Fortnite? And then it or launch week, whatever, and then it kind of changes whenever Mythic Plus turns on. Because Mythic Plus is completely different to a Mythic 0 in gameplay feel.
Oh, yeah, Esteban, good point. Vortex Pinnacle, last boss triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Simon says die.
Simon says get fucked.
Yeah.
So there you go. We'll have a video out. You can check the Warcraft channel on that. If you're watching this in the clip, if you're watching this live, it'll be out either tomorrow or the day after. Really good video. Matt led the script. You've got an idea, he has a few ideas in that script of
very quick basic ones, but yes.
They are affixes that make it harder, don't have a positive, but are executed in a way that is less annoying. And I think it's that's the thing, because that's an example of, okay, with these, you've achieved the design goal. It's a little bit less fun, but it's not a big fuck you. Like a bunch of these.
Like these basically are. And you can tell from their design goals, these are annoying by design. That's the end of it. They're their goal is, what we're going to do, shit on players' days. We'll do that.
I think, a lot of that, quickly using, loads of utility and stuff.
Yeah, that feels good.
Fun in... I think that is fun in a more, methodical, less super, rush scenario.
So, yes and no. I think it's fine in a rush scenario.
I think it is, but it can't be too much.
It can't be too much because it ends up in this awful result of we're not bringing this class for this week. because that's how the metagame works, and it's like it's up to Blizzard to kind of mitigate that where they can. But especially when it's like, oh, you want to do this? Oh, well, you have to remove your talents or something. You have to run a suboptimal talent build to do better, and that's fine within a group context. But as soon as that enters the pug world, where I'm sure not very many Blizzard developers or people working on this really do that very often, I think they might be a bit blind to the pug experience of M+, which is, I'm sure you know, is like getting your teeth pulled out.